All right, let's just jump right in. We all grow up hearing the same rules about money, right? Work hard, save every penny, get a stable job, and whatever you do, stay out of debt. But what if I told you that the very foundation for all that advice completely shattered, way back in 1971? We're about to unpack the single event that flipped the entire world of money upside down.
I know, that sounds incredibly dramatic, but honestly, the advice our parents and grandparents gave us, the stuff that was genuinely good advice for them, might not just be outdated today, it could literally be making you poorer. The rules of the game have fundamentally changed, but most of us are still out here playing with the old rulebook. And that's the real question, isn't it? What happened? Because this wasn't some slow, gradual evolution. It was a single decision made on one specific day that basically rebooted the entire operating system for money across the globe. So, let's get into what that was.
To really understand why putting your money in a savings account today is kind of a losing game, we have to go back in time. Not that far, just to a summer Sunday in 1971. This is where the whole story really kicks off.
You see, for a very long time, money was actually anchored to something real, something tangible. Under what was called the gold standard, a US dollar wasn't just some piece of green paper, it was basically a claim check. You could, at least in theory, walk into a bank and trade your paper money for a set amount of actual physical gold. That's what gave money its stability.
And this is the moment everything changed. August 15th, 1971. President Nixon gets on TV and announces that the US is cutting the cord. No more swapping dollars for gold. And just like that, the dollar was set adrift from any physical asset. It became what's known as a fiat currency, which is just a fancy way of saying its value comes from one thing and one thing only: a government promise. That was the flip.
Now, this wasn't just some abstract policy thing for economists to debate. No, this had a huge, immediate, real-world impact on anybody who was trying to save money because it completely changed what it meant to save. I mean, just look at the difference here. It's night and day. Before 71, your money was a solid store of value. Saving it was a safe bet. After 71, with no gold backing, money could be created out of thin air. And what does that mean? It means your savings immediately started losing their value to inflation. Suddenly, saving cash guaranteed that your purchasing power would go down year after year.
This is the absolute best way to think about it. The cash you have stashed in the bank is like a melting ice cube. You look at your statement, and the number of dollars is still there, but its actual power, what you can buy with it, is just slowly dripping away every single day.
So, if saving your money is now a losing strategy, what's the winning one? Well, this is where it gets weird and a little counterintuitive. In this new world after 1971, the complete opposite of saving, borrowing, actually became one of the main ways to get ahead. But it's not quite that simple.
Exactly. I can hear you thinking it right now. We're all taught our whole lives that debt is terrible. It's a trap, a word you avoid at all costs. And look, for most people, that's true. But that's only because most of us are only familiar with one kind of debt. The wealthy? They know there are two.
Okay, this is the whole secret right here. Bad debt is the stuff we all know. Credit cards, car loans, things you buy that go down in value. You are 100% on the hook for that debt. But good debt, that's a different animal entirely. That's when you borrow money to buy an asset, something that will go up in value or produce cash flow, like a business or a rental property. In that case, the asset you bought actually pays off the debt for you, all while its value grows, beating the very inflation that's eating your savings.
And believe me, this idea of using good debt is not some secret little trick. It is the fundamental playbook. It's how the biggest corporations and the wealthiest people in the world operate and thrive in this modern economy. They're playing a totally different game than the rest of us.
So here's how they do it. They borrow massive amounts of money, usually at super low interest rates. Then they immediately use that money to buy up hard assets, real estate, stocks, you name it. And this is where the magic happens. Inflation, the very force that's destroying the value of your savings, actually helps them. It makes the value of their asset go up while making the real value of the debt they owe go down. They win on both ends.
So you're probably thinking, okay, that's great for them, but why do they get access to all this cheap money first? Well, it's not a coincidence. There's actually an economic principle that explains this perfectly. It's called the Cantillon effect, and it is the last, really crucial piece of this entire puzzle. So here's how it works. When new money is created, it's not like it's dropped from a helicopter for everyone. Nope.
It's injected into the system right at the top. The big banks and the giant corporations get it first, as cheap loans. They get to spend all this new money on assets before the market has realized what's happening. By the time that money trickles down to the rest of us, prices for everything have already been pushed higher.
So when you boil it all down, here's the bottom line. After that flip in 1971, the entire financial system was rewired. It went from a system that rewarded people who worked hard and saved their money to a system that rewards people who know how to strategically borrow money to buy assets. Saving cash became a penalty, and using debt as a tool became the new path to wealth.
Which leaves all of us with a really provocative question to think about. If we're living in a system that is designed from the ground up to punish savers and reward borrowers, then what does saving even mean anymore? Maybe, just maybe, true saving in this new world isn't about stacking cash. Maybe it's about converting your cash into real, hard assets as fast as you possibly can. It's a total reversal of 100 years of financial advice, all because of what happened in 1971.